there is such an irony involved here. A West Asian country, the UAE to be precise, recently gave an order. And according to media reports, the UAE has been restricting funds for admissions to British universities, claiming that the campuses were being radicalized by Muslim Brotherhood, designated as a terrorist organization by the UAE. UAE government has been limiting these funds of late for all the students who go to UK because they want to prevent their students from exposure to Islamic radicalization, despite a rise in the students who are willing to study in British campuses. We have Viransh here, who himself is a target of these racial attacks while studying in the campus of the Oxford. Viransh, quickly your take.
I'm going to divide that into two parts. I think there is generally really, perhaps interesting is the wrong word, but a very unique sort of racism that Indians very often face. We're often called the model minority. And as a result of that, a lot of sort of the native population here thinks that Indians don't really have it that bad when it comes to racism. But especially how racism works in the UK, for example, very subtle, very nuanced in a certain way. A lot of racial attacks against Indian students just end up being treated as okay and normalized. So what that's eventually meant is you can almost say anything you want against India, the nation, at a British campus, and so long as it's against it, there will be a whole faction of individuals who will be more than happy to support you, and there'll be no consequences for them. I think the issue has just become that, and I think this also relates to a certain extent as to what happened, in the case of the unfortunate sick girl, or Rotherham, or the grooming gangs in general, which is institutions in this country have become a bit too reluctant to act just of the fear of being called racist or Islamophobic. And I think that
Viransh, a very straight question. Are people who have, affiliated to the Muslim Brotherhood active in these campuses? Yes or no?
So, I mean, also, the question sort of requires you to define what the Muslim Brotherhood is. But I can sort of assure you for a fact that there are sort of political groups that tend to exercise pressure via student organizations on campus. That can the Muslim Brotherhood, there can be a variety of Islamic or other sort of pressure group organizations. Even like in Oxford, in Cambridge, in London, you will very often see a protest come out of nowhere. And you sort of wonder who paid for the vans, who paid for the slogans, who paid for the posters. And more often than not, you'll find the answer is the same.
Got it. Pandit Sharma, are jihadis having a free run in UK campuses? Is the Muslim Brotherhood pushing for this kind of radicalization to the extent that the UAE is also now avoiding them?
Yes, in fact, I have to compliment the UAE for taking this decision so promptly, because the Indian government has failed to do so. Exactly what is being done to students from the Emirates has been done to Indian students for a long period of time. As you may recall, I have represented and fought the corner for people like Rashmi Samant, Lakshmi Subramanian, and so many other students who were targeted and discriminated against because of their national identity and their religious identity. It's quite strange. The UAE have recognized straight away the problems in Oxford and Cambridge. And I think it's most appropriately summarized as that these are Euro-Christianist madrasas. They were established on the principles delineated by James Mills about India. This is a man who denigrated and vilified the civilization, never having visited it. And his teachings became the core teachings in Oxford for every member of the British administration who was going to go to Bharat. And so
Pandit Sharma, I don't have much time left. Allow me to ask you a straight question. The US and half a dozen other countries have proscribed the Muslim Brotherhood. That includes the UAE. Why can't the UK do it?
Because Pakistan is a garrison state of the United Kingdom.
Got it, sir. Very quickly, coming back to Malika. Malika, do you think this disease of radicalization in the campuses might spread away from the UK to other campuses in the European countries? And is the UK government doing enough?
Of course, ma'am, like I said, I mean, it's a spillover effect. And you see the mayor of London, when he was asked last year about, Sadiq Khan clearly said, what is grooming gang? He hardly knew about the grooming gang. And he clearly stated that let's not target one of the ethnicities. His own metropolitan chief said, that he took a U-turn. The Metropolitan Chief said, no, there's nothing like this exists. But then after it was discussed in the parliament, then he said, no, we're looking after historical cases, and there are so many cases which are being reported now. So you see there's a lot of confusion within the UK government, which is coming up. And yes, of course, it's going to spill over to other places as well, like we're seeing. And it is already doing so. These girls are being targeted on the basis of their religion. These girls are being targeted on the basis of their, they're being given gifts, expensive gifts. They're being manipulated, and then they're being trafficked.
Yes, but if I may add, it was after a lot of public pressure, of course, a lot of street protests. But finally, some people did get sentenced. But unfortunately, as Malika has just pointed out, the first step in solving a problem, in solving a challenge, is to recognize that it's a problem. If the UK government and campuses are going to continue to be in denial, I do not think we have a great future to look forward to for their students there, for these young, unfortunate girls who have to go through such horror at such a tender age.